after about 6 months of being on the show, realised that that you could do acting as a full-time job. And I actually asked the other cast members, I was like, do you guys have second jobs? And they were like, no. And I'm like, but you got kids in school? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, so you can pay for like your children's tuition and pay your mortgage and everything just from acting? And they're like, that's correct. So I was like, wonderful, I'm going to do that then. Not recognising I'd been doing that for the last 6 months.
With these things, we normally start at the beginning and say to people, oh, you know, the first thing you did, you know, can you remember back then? The first thing you did, or the first thing that we know you did, you actually revisited yourself very recently. Tell us about that experience of going back to Neighbours, even though it was, you know, a very small moment. But what did it bring back about the kind of training that a soap opera can give you as in your subsequent career?
I attribute so much of who I am now and what I can do now to being on Neighbours. And I didn't go to film school or drama school. I wish that I had, but I learned on the job. I was on Neighbours. I did over 300 episodes on that soap in 3 years. So, I mean, you learn a lot, and it was some of the greatest years of my life. And it was like my university years. And my last day on Neighbours was like graduating. Like, you give speeches, everyone gives you gifts. It's a whole thing. So needless to say, everyone on that show I was really, really close with, and not just because I spent that amount of time with them, but because I was 17 when I started, and I was living in Melbourne. You know, to me that was the big smoke. I didn't know anyone in Melbourne. And, you know, like Toadie taught me how to do my taxes, and, you know, like Dr. Carl helped me out like with a side gig because I needed money to pay rent, and like Susan Kennedy showed me how to roast a chicken. I mean, like everyone, I slept on everyone's couches, and like everyone pitches in and helps you out. So when it was ending, it was, you know, I was like, you know, it's just a very, emotional thing. So of course I wrote everyone a big letter and kind of recapped some of the funny times and things that I remember from our time. And I sent like 37 bottles of champagne for every year that the show had been on air. And then of course I did like a little video that they could play during the last episode. So.
And when you, back then, did you know when it was over? I mean, did you know when you'd had enough?
After about 6 months of being on the show, realised that you could do acting as a full-time job. And I actually asked the other cast members, I was like, do you guys have second jobs? And they were like, no. And I'm like, but you got kids in school? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, so you can pay for like your children's tuition and pay your mortgage and everything just from acting? And they're like, that's correct. So I was like, wonderful, I'm going to do that then. Not recognising I'd been doing that for the last 6 months. But yeah, and so then I'd signed. By that point I was meant to be there as a guest role, and then they asked me to stay longer, so I signed a contract for, you know, the next 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. So I had the end in sight because I knew that when my contract was up I wanted to make the jump to America. So it was kind of like you had 3 options. It was like get fired because you're not good enough or can't keep up, mm-hmm. which I wasn't going to let that happen. Stay on the show, and, you know, many people do and have wonderful lives doing that and are on for, you know, 20 plus years, mm-hmm. or make the jump to America, which a lot of people kind of in my age group did. So I saw a couple of the other, you know, people on the show make that kind of jump. So I knew that's what I wanted to do.
And the jump to America, you had your eye on TV, or you always had your eye on film?
It wasn't even a distinction between TV or film. It was just get a job, just to make something happen. Mm-hmm. And I asked Neighbours to kill me off in like a big spectacular death, and they didn't. They said, no, we won't do that because we want to make sure that you can have your job back if it doesn't work out in America. And that gave me all the drive I needed. I was like, I love you all, but I'm going to make it in America. I promise you. You don't need to keep my job free. And so, yeah, it's, I didn't mind whether it was going to be TV or film, but my first job was a TV job, a TV series called Pan Am.